All right, so today we're going to unpack a really fascinating tension between three huge ideas. First, you have Dharma. Think of it as philosophy or religion. Then you have Satta, which is all about power, the state. And finally, John, the people. And we're going to explore all this through the eyes of one disciple who had the courage to ask some very, very difficult questions. So let's start with the central problem, the big question. What happens when a beautiful idea, something meant to set people free, gets turned into an institution? When a philosophy designed for human welfare becomes just another system of control. It's a story that's played out time and time again. So how does that even happen? How does a spark of personal insight become a rigid, controlling religion? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack first. That journey from an idea into an institution that can shape entire empires. You see, it almost always follows the same pattern. An idea that's meant to help everybody starts to get formalized. It gets written down, becomes doctrine. And once that knowledge becomes rigid, it's not long before it's used to build power structures, controlling people, telling them how to think, and making sure everyone falls in line. But what if somebody on the inside starts to notice this? What if they see it happening right before their eyes? That brings us to the heart of our story, to a disciple who was there from day one and who started asking the questions nobody else wanted to. Okay, so picture this at the exact moment of Buddha's great enlightenment, and for his very first sermon, there were just 5 Brahmin disciples there with him. 5 people who heard this revolutionary new path right from the source. And out of those 5, one of them, a man named Bhaja, just couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. While the others were busy setting up the new order, he was seeing the cracks, the contradictions. He was seeing the people who were already being left behind. And this quote from the source poems, wow, it says so much. Bhadia is basically saying, because I was there for the real, raw moment of truth. Before it was packaged and sold, I managed to hang on to a piece of myself, my own critical thinking. He wasn't just a follower. He was still an observer. And man, he starts asking some really sharp questions. He goes to Buddha and asks, why was this world-changing message delivered to an exclusive club of 5 Brahmins? What about the local tribal folks who took care of you? And why is it that all the famous disciples we celebrate are kings, nobles, and Brahmins? Where are the regular people? Where are the shepherds, the women? Where are they in this new Dharma? So, wrestling with these questions leads Bhadia to completely rethink what Dharma even is. He starts to push back against the official institutional definition and moves towards something much more real, something you can actually feel. And this slide just nails the difference. For the institution, Dharma is like an invisible crown, a status symbol. It's a boat that you just get on and it carries you across the river. But for Bhadia, no way. For him, Dharma is etched into the soles of your feet from walking the path. It's not about getting in the boat, it's about jumping into the river and actually swimming. I mean, that line just says it all, doesn't it? It's this huge shift from just passively believing something to actively living it. Dharma isn't the vehicle, it's the action. It's the struggle. And for Bhadia, this isn't just some abstract philosophical point. He starts to see a whole different kind of spirituality out in the world, not in the temples and monasteries, but among ordinary, everyday people. He completely redefines what compassion looks like. He says it's not the big, showy donations from an emperor. Real compassion, well, you find that where things are most scarce. It's the poor family that only has 4 pieces of bread for themselves, but they still give one to a hungry monk. That is the real deal. And he sees this deep, authentic faith everywhere. Like in this incredible image, a woman saving seeds for the next planting season. She's not performing some religious ritual. She's performing an act of hope, of survival. And Bhadia says that simple act awakens more faith in him than any sermon ever could. So the bottom line for Bhadia is this. The real spirit of Dharma doesn't actually live in the official buildings or the fancy scriptures. It survives out on the edges of society, in the simple, brave lives of shepherds and even their loyal dogs. It lives where life is real and hard. Okay, so this entire journey of questioning, of seeking the truth, it all leads to one final, powerful message, delivered at the most critical moment imaginable. As the Buddha is lay dying, Bhadia is weeping. But it's not just sadness for his teacher, it's something much deeper. He is terrified that as soon as the Buddha is gone, that spirit of questioning, of individual inquiry, is going to be extinguished, and the institution, the dogma, is just going to take over for good. He saw the terrible irony playing out right in front of him. Buddha gave the people a weapon, a tool they could use to think for themselves, to liberate themselves. But the powerful took that weapon and turned it into scripture, a book of rules to control them with. The Buddha sees his old friend weeping, understands his fear for the future, and calls him over. And in this final moment, he gives Bhadrika and all of us his very last and maybe his most important piece of advice. Apo Depo Pava. Be your own light. It's so simple but so profound. Don't look for answers in a book. Don't look for them in a teacher or an institution. The ultimate source of truth, the light you need to find your way, has to come from inside you. You are the authority. And this just leaves us with this haunting question, doesn't it? Because Binya saw what was coming. He knew that even with this final instruction, people would still build hierarchies and write rule books. Which makes you wonder, 2,500 years later, are we any different? Are we brave enough to be our own light? Or are we still looking for it outside of ourselves, in crowns and in scriptures?